Daniel Adeyemi stood in front of his bedroom mirror, holding a pair of torn trousers and a faded shirt that smelled like the streets of Lagos. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at his reflection, a billionaire about to become a beggar. "This is madness," he whispered to himself. But he was tired. Tired of women who loved his black card more than his heart. Tired of fake smiles and calculated affection. Tired of being Daniel Adeyemi, the tech billionaire, instead of just Daniel. He picked up the fake beard from his dresser and pressed it against his jaw. The transformation was startling. Gone was the polished CEO. In his place stood a man who could disappear into any Lagos street corner without a second glance. "If no one can love me like this," he said quietly, "then no one truly loves me at all." Welcome to TJ Stories, where we bring you the most dramatic, emotional, and unforgettable African tales. If you love stories about love, betrayal, and shocking revelations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss our next incredible story. Now, let's dive into the story of Daniel, a man who had everything, except the one thing money couldn't buy. The morning sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Daniel's Banana Island mansion, casting golden light across imported Italian marble floors. Everything in the house screamed wealth, from the custom-made furniture to the original artwork hanging on cream-colored walls. But Daniel felt nothing when he looked at it all. He sat on his king-sized bed, phone in hand, scrolling through messages from women he'd dated over the past year. Every conversation followed the same pattern. "Baby, I saw this Birkin bag." "Daniel, my car is giving me problems. Can you help me get a new one?" "Sweetheart, my rent is due." He threw the phone across the bed and rubbed his temples. 32 years old, worth billions of naira, and completely alone. The irony wasn't lost on him. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," Daniel called out. Tunde Adeyemi, his cousin and business partner, walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. Tunde was the only person Daniel truly trusted. They'd grown up together in their grandmother's small house in Surulere before Daniel's tech company, Next Tech Solutions, exploded into success. "You look like someone who didn't sleep," Tunde said, handing him a cup. "I didn't," Daniel admitted. "I keep thinking about Stephanie." Tunde's face twisted with disgust. "That witch? Brother, you dodged a bullet when you ended things with her." "Did I?" Daniel asked bitterly. "Or did I just prove that I can't find anyone real?" "Tunde, every woman I meet sees Naira signs when they look at me. Nobody sees Daniel anymore." Tunde sat down in the leather armchair near the window. "So what are you going to do? Stay single forever? Hide your success?" "Maybe," Daniel said quietly. "You can't be serious." Daniel stood up and walked to the window, looking out at his perfectly manicured lawn and the swimming pool that sparkled in the morning light. "Do you remember when we were young? When we had nothing? People treated us differently then. Some were kind, some were cruel, but at least it was real. Nobody pretended with us. Those were hard times, Daniel. You worked like a madman to get out of that life." "I know," Daniel said. "But sometimes I wonder if I lost something important along the way. Something money can't buy back." Tunde was about to respond when Daniel's phone buzzed with a notification. He picked it up and saw a trending video on social media. The headline read, "Lagos woman shows kindness to beggar, restores faith in humanity." Curious, Daniel played the video. It showed a young woman at a roadside food stand giving a plate of jollof rice to a poorly dressed man who clearly had no money. The woman's smile was genuine as she told him, "Everyone deserves to eat. Don't worry about payment." The man in the video had tears in his eyes. The comments section was filled with praise for the woman's kindness. Daniel watched the video 3 times. "What are you looking at?" Tunde asked. Daniel turned to him, and Tunde saw something in his cousin's eyes that made him nervous. It was the same look Daniel got right before making a crazy business decision that somehow always worked out. "I have an idea," Daniel said slowly. "I don't like that look," Tunde replied. What kind of idea? Daniel sat down and leaned forward, his voice filled with newfound energy. What if I could find someone like that woman? Someone who would show me kindness even when they think I have nothing? You want to donate to charity? I can arrange that. No, Tund. I want to find real love. Genuine affection. Someone who would love Daniel the person, not Daniel the billionaire. And how do you plan to do that? Put an ad in the newspaper? Daniel's eyes gleamed. I'm going to become poor. Tund nearly spilled his coffee. What? Not really poor, Daniel explained, standing up and pacing the room. I'm going to disguise myself. Dress like I have nothing, go to regular Lagos neighborhoods, live like an ordinary man. No cars, no mansion, no black cards. Just me. Daniel, that's insane. Is it? Daniel challenged. Think about it. If I meet someone while I'm disguised as a poor man, and she treats me with kindness and respect, then I'll know it's real. I'll know she sees me for who I am, not what I have. Tund stood up, shaking his head. Brother, this is dangerous. Lagos streets are not a playground. What if something happens to you? You'll be watching. I'm not stupid, Tund. I'll check in with you regularly. But I need to do this. I need to know if there's someone out there who can love me for me. For a long moment, Tund just stared at his cousin. Then he sighed heavily. You're really going to do this, aren't you? Yes. Even if I tell you it's the craziest idea you've ever had? Even then. Tund ran his hand over his face. Fine. But I'm setting conditions. You check in every day. You don't go anywhere too dangerous. And at the first sign of real trouble, you come clean and we get you out. Agreed? Daniel smiled, the first genuine smile Tund had seen on his face in months. Agreed. 2 days later, Daniel and Tund were in a small clothing market in Oshodi. Daniel wore a baseball cap and sunglasses to avoid recognition as they browsed through piles of used clothes. This is surreal, Tund muttered as Daniel held up a faded shirt with holes in the collar. The CEO of Nextech Solutions shopping for rags. These aren't rags, Daniel corrected with a grin. These are my new wardrobe. They bought 3 sets of worn clothes, a pair of old slippers, and a tattered bag. At a costume shop, Daniel purchased a fake beard that looked surprisingly realistic. Back at the mansion, Daniel stood in his bathroom, applying the beard carefully. Tund watched from the doorway, still shaking his head in disbelief. You look like a completely different person, Tund admitted. Daniel studied his reflection. The expensive haircut was hidden under a worn cap. The designer stubble was covered by the fake beard. The custom-fitted clothes were replaced by loose, faded garments. Perfect, Daniel said. Tomorrow, I start my new life. That night, lying in his comfortable bed for what might be the last time in a while, Daniel felt something he hadn't experienced in years, excitement mixed with genuine nervousness. He wasn't naive. He knew the streets could be harsh. He knew poverty wasn't romantic. But he also knew he couldn't continue living the hollow existence his wealth had created. Somewhere in Lagos, he believed, was someone who would see past appearances. Someone who valued character over cash. Someone who could love Daniel, not his bank account. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought about the woman in the video, handing food to a stranger without expecting anything in return. That's what real kindness looks like, he whispered into the darkness. And that's what I'm going to find. Tomorrow, the search would begin. Tomorrow, billionaire Daniel Adeyemi would become just another face in the crowd. Tomorrow, everything would change. What will happen when Daniel takes to the streets in disguise? Will he find the genuine love he's searching for? Or will his plan backfire in ways he never imagined? Stay tuned and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the next chapter of this incredible story. The Danfo bus lurched to a stop at Surulere, and Daniel stepped down onto the dusty street. The morning sun was already hot, and the smell of roasting plantains mixed with exhaust fumes filled the air. Hawkers shouted their wares, Okada riders revved their engines, and the chaos of Lagos morning life swirled around him. For the first time in years, nobody stared at Daniel. Nobody asked for his autograph. Nobody whispered, "That's Daniel Adeyemi, the tech billionaire." He was invisible, just another struggling man in a city of hustlers. The feeling was strange. Liberating. Terrifying. He'd left his mansion at dawn, telling his house staff he was traveling for business. Only Tund knew the truth. His cousin had driven him to a bus stop in Lekki, looking worried the entire time. "You have your phone?" Tund had asked for the third time. "Hidden in my bag. I'll call you tonight." "Daniel, it's not too late to." "I'm doing this, Tund." Now, standing in Surulere, the same neighborhood where he'd grown up before money changed everything, Daniel felt a mix of nostalgia and anxiety. The streets looked familiar but felt different from the perspective of a poor man. He wandered for hours, observing. He saw laborers arguing over 20 naira. He watched a woman sell pure water in traffic, sweat pouring down her face. He noticed a group of young men playing drafts under a tree, laughing despite having nothing. By afternoon, Daniel was genuinely hungry. He'd eaten a light breakfast before leaving, and the disguise didn't include extra cash for food. He'd brought only 200 naira, enough to seem believable as a struggling man. That's when he saw her. Amara Okafor's food kiosk sat at the corner of a busy intersection. It wasn't much, just a wooden structure with a zinc roof, decorated with faded posters advertising Coca-Cola and Indomie noodles. But the smell coming from inside was incredible. Jollof rice, fried plantains, and grilled chicken. Daniel's stomach growled loudly. Amara herself was arranging plates of food when he approached. She was younger than he'd expected, probably mid-20s, with dark brown skin that glowed with a thin sheen of sweat from working over the hot stove. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore a wrapper over her jeans and t-shirt to protect her clothes. She looked up as Daniel stopped in front of her kiosk, and smiled. It was a genuine smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "Good afternoon, sir. What can I get for you?" Daniel hesitated. He'd rehearsed this moment, but now that it was happening, the words felt stuck in his throat. How much is a plate of rice?" he asked, his voice rougher than usual, part of the disguise. 200 naira for rice and plantain. 300 if you want chicken." Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out crumpled notes. He counted them slowly, making a show of it. 150 naira. He looked up at Amara apologetically. "I only have 150, he said quietly. He expected her to turn him away. That's what made business sense. But Amara's smile didn't fade. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him for a moment. "You look hungry," she said simply. "Sit down. I'll fix you a plate." "But I can't." "I said sit down." Her voice was firm but kind. Nobody should go hungry in this Lagos heat. Daniel sat on the wooden bench beside her kiosk, genuinely shocked. She didn't know him. Owed him nothing. Yet here she was, preparing a generous plate of jollof rice, fried plantain, and even adding a small piece of chicken. She placed the food in front of him with a bottle of cold water. "Eat," she said. "You can pay me the 150. The rest is on me." "Why?" Daniel asked, looking up at her. "Why would you do this?" Amara shrugged, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Because someone did it for me once when I was struggling. My mother always said, Amara, if you have the ability to help someone, do it. God is watching." Daniel felt something crack inside his chest. This woman, this stranger, had just shown him more genuine kindness than people he'd known for years. He ate slowly, savoring not just the food, which was delicious, but the feeling of being treated with simple human decency. Amara went back to serving other customers, but between orders, she'd glance over at Daniel with a curious expression. When he finished eating, he stood to leave, placing the 150 naira on the table. "Thank you," he said, meaning it more deeply than she could know. The food was excellent. You're welcome, Amara replied. What's your name? Daniel, he said, then quickly added, just Daniel. I'm Amara. You're not from around here? I used to be, he said carefully. Long time ago. Just, going through some hard times now. Looking for work. Amara nodded sympathetically. Lagos is not easy. But you seem like a good man. Something will come up. Before Daniel could respond, dark clouds suddenly rolled across the sky. Within seconds, rain began to fall, not the gentle kind, but the heavy Lagos downpour that turned streets into rivers within minutes. People scattered in all directions, seeking shelter. Daniel started to leave, but Amara called out to him. Daniel. Come inside, you'll get soaked. She was pulling plastic sheets over her food containers, trying to protect everything from the rain. Daniel helped her, moving quickly. When everything was secured, they both ducked into the small covered area behind her kiosk. It was cramped, barely enough space for two people. They stood close together, listening to the rain pound against the zinc roof. Water poured off the edges in sheets. This rain is crazy, Amara said, laughing. Welcome to Lagos, where the weather has no chill. Daniel found himself laughing too. When was the last time he'd laughed like this? Not at a business dinner or a formal event, but just, laughed. Thank you for letting me stay dry, he said. Of course. What kind of person would I be if I let you go out in that? She gestured at the downpour. You'd catch pneumonia. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the rain. Then Amara spoke again. So what kind of work are you looking for? Daniel had prepared a backstory. Anything, really. I'm good with my hands. Can do repairs, help with loading, whatever needs doing. It's hard out here, Amara said softly. I see so many people struggling. Sometimes I wonder if things will ever get better. You run this kiosk alone? Daniel asked. Amara nodded. Yes. I'm saving money for school. I want to study nursing, but the fees are expensive. Plus, I have two younger siblings. Our parents died 3 years ago in a car accident. So now I'm the one taking care of everyone. Daniel's heart constricted. Here was this young woman, carrying the weight of a family on her shoulders, still finding room in her heart to feed a stranger for free. That's a lot of responsibility, he said quietly. God gives us only what we can carry, Amara replied, but Daniel saw the weariness in her eyes. She was tired. Stressed. But she carried it with grace. Do you need help? He heard himself ask. I could wash plates, clean up, whatever you need. You don't have to pay me. Just, food is enough. Amara looked at him, surprised. You would do that? You fed me when I had nothing, Daniel said. Let me return the kindness. For a moment, Amara just stared at him. Then, slowly, she smiled, that same genuine smile that had first caught his attention. Okay, she said. If you're serious, I could use the help. These plates pile up fast. I'm serious, Daniel confirmed. The rain continued to fall, but inside their small shelter, something else was beginning, a connection neither of them fully understood yet. The rain lasted for 45 minutes. When it finally stopped, Amara showed Daniel where she kept her washing area, a small bucket and basin behind the kiosk. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work, scrubbing plates while Amara prepared for the evening rush. It was hard work. His hands, unused to manual labor despite his humble beginnings, quickly became sore. But Daniel didn't complain. Instead, he found himself studying Amara as she worked, the efficient way she moved, the kindness she showed every customer, the way she hummed softly while cooking. She was beautiful, yes. But it was more than that. There was something authentic about her. Real. Unguarded. As the sun began to set, painting the Lagos sky in shades of orange and purple, Amara closed up her kiosk. She'd made good money that evening. Daniel had heard customers complimenting her food repeatedly. "You did good work today," Amara said, handing him a takeaway pack of food. "For tomorrow. So you don't go hungry." "Amara, you don't have to." "I want to," she interrupted. "Besides, if you're going to help me tomorrow, you need strength." "Tomorrow?" Daniel asked. "You said you'd help. Were you lying?" She raised an eyebrow playfully. "No," Daniel said quickly. "I'll be here." "Good." Amara locked up her kiosk and picked up her bag. "I stay not too far from here." "Where are you staying?" Daniel had rented a small room in a nearby Face Me I Face You compound, part of maintaining his disguise. "Just down the street," he said vaguely. They walked together for a few minutes until Amara reached her turning. "See you tomorrow, Daniel," she said. "See you tomorrow, Amara." As he watched her walk away, Daniel pulled out his hidden phone and texted Tund, "Day 1 complete. I found her." Tund's response came immediately, "Found who?" Daniel smiled at his phone. "I'll explain later." "But Tund, I think this is going to work." That night, lying on a thin mattress in his rented room, so different from his luxury bed at home, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Amara's smile, her kindness, her strength. For the first time in years, he fell asleep feeling genuinely hopeful about the future. He didn't know that across Lagos, someone else was thinking about him too. In her modest room, Amara lay awake, wondering about the mysterious man who'd appeared at her kiosk. There was something different about Daniel. Something in his eyes that didn't quite match his worn clothes and rough appearance. But she pushed the thought away. Lagos was full of stories. Everyone had secrets. What mattered was that he'd been kind, respectful, willing to work. And when he smiled, something inside her had stirred, something she hadn't felt in a long time. "Don't be foolish, Amara," she whispered to herself. "You don't have time for distractions." But as she drifted off to sleep, she was already looking forward to seeing him again tomorrow. 3 weeks passed like a dream Daniel didn't want to wake up from. Every morning, he left his small rented room and made his way to Amara's kiosk. Every morning, she greeted him with that same warm smile that made something flutter in his chest. And every day, he fell a little harder for the woman who thought he was just a struggling man trying to survive in Lagos. The routine became familiar, comfortable. Daniel would arrive around 10 in the morning to help Amara set up. He'd carry her heavy coolers from her room to the kiosk, arrange the tables and chairs, and start washing the previous day's dishes while she prepared the food. By noon, when customers started flooding in, he'd help serve, clean tables, and keep everything running smoothly. In return, Amara fed him 3 meals a day and occasionally slipped him small amounts of money, which Daniel always tried to refuse, but she insisted he take for transport and necessities. He never spent the money. Every note she gave him, he kept in an envelope in his room, planning to return it all when he eventually revealed the truth. If he revealed the truth. That part was getting complicated. "You're scrubbing that plate like it owes you money," Amara said, laughing as she watched Daniel attack a stubborn stain. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and the lunch rush had just ended. They were both exhausted but content, sitting in the small space behind her kiosk where they'd first sheltered from the rain. "I just like things clean," Daniel replied, grinning at her. "I noticed. You're nothing like the other helpers I've had before. Those ones would disappear the moment they thought I wasn't watching. Maybe I actually enjoy being here." Amara's expression softened. "Do you? Really? Because I keep thinking you're going to wake up one day and realize this work is beneath you." "Beneath me?" Daniel set down the plate and turned to face her fully. "Amara, nothing about this is beneath me. You work harder than most people I know. You're feeding people, supporting your family, chasing your dreams. That's honorable." She looked away, but not before he saw the emotion in her eyes. "You're too kind, Daniel. Sometimes I wonder why you're really here." His heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," Amara said slowly. Sometimes when you talk, you sound different. Educated. Like someone who's seen more than you're letting on. And your hands, she reached out and gently took one of his hands, examining it. They're getting rough now from the work, but when you first came, they were too soft. Like you'd never done hard labor before. Daniel's throat went dry. She was more observant than he'd realized. I told you, he said carefully. I'm going through hard times. I wasn't always like this. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. He'd prepared a story for this moment, but looking into Amara's honest eyes, the lies felt heavier than usual. I made some mistakes. Lost everything. Now I'm starting over. It wasn't entirely false. He had lost something, his ability to trust people's intentions. And he was starting over, in a way. Amara squeezed his hand gently before letting go. Well, I'm glad you're starting over brought you to my kiosk. I don't know what I'd do without your help anymore. You'd manage, Daniel said. You're the strongest person I know. Strong because I have to be, Amara replied. Not because I want to be. You know what I dream about sometimes? Tell me. I dream about not having to worry. About my siblings being taken care of. About going to nursing school without calculating every naira. About maybe, having someone to share the burden with. The vulnerability in her voice made Daniel want to tell her everything right then, that he could solve all her problems with a single phone call. That she'd never have to worry about money again. That he could give her the world. But he stayed silent. Because that wasn't what she needed from him. She needed authenticity, not a savior. She needed someone who saw her, not someone who wanted to rescue her. You'll get there, he said instead. I believe in you. Amara smiled, but there was something wistful in it. You know what's funny? I barely know you, but I trust you more than people I've known for years. Is that crazy? No, Daniel said softly. I feel the same way. Their eyes met and held. The noise of the street around them seemed to fade. Daniel felt his heart racing, and for a moment, he thought about leaning in, closing the distance between them. But a customer called out, breaking the spell. Amara. A beg, I need 2 plates of rice. Amara blinked and stood up quickly. Coming. She glanced back at Daniel, her cheeks slightly flushed. We should get back to work. Yeah, Daniel agreed, his own pulse still racing. We should. That evening, as Daniel walked back to his room, his phone buzzed. It was Tund. We need to talk. Come to the office tomorrow morning. It's important. Daniel frowned. Tund knew he was undercover. What could be so urgent? He texted back, can't it wait? I'm in the middle of. No. This is serious. I'll pick you up at 6 a.m. before Amara's kiosk opens. Don't argue. Daniel sighed. His cousin rarely used that tone unless something was genuinely wrong. The next morning, a modest Toyota, not one of Daniel's luxury cars, picked him up from a street corner. Tund was in the back seat, looking stressed. What's going on? Daniel asked as soon as he got in. Stephanie, Tund said grimly. Daniel felt his stomach drop. What about her? She's been digging. Asking questions about you. My sources say she's hired someone to follow you. How is that possible? I've been careful. Not careful enough, apparently. Daniel, she saw you. Last week, getting out of a Danfo bus in Surulere. She took pictures. Damn it. Daniel ran his hand over his face, forgetting he was wearing the fake beard and adjusting it quickly. There's more, Tund continued. She's been posting cryptic messages on social media. Things like, people aren't always who they pretend to be, and the truth always comes out. I think she's planning to expose you. Let her, Daniel said. I don't care what Stephanie thinks. But what about Amara? Tund challenged. If Stephanie goes public with this before you tell Amara the truth yourself, how do you think that's going to look? The woman will think you've been playing games with her. Tund was right, and Daniel knew it. He'd been putting off the inevitable conversation with Amara, telling himself he needed more time to be sure of her feelings. But time was running out. I need to tell her, Daniel said quietly. Soon. But not yet. I need to be absolutely certain. Certain of what? Daniel, you talk about this woman constantly. You light up every time her name comes up. You're already certain. I need to be sure she feels the same way, Daniel insisted. What if she only likes me because I'm helpful? What if the moment I tell her the truth, everything changes? Tund sighed. Brother, that's the risk you took when you started this whole disguise thing. You can't control how she'll react. But you owe her the truth. I know, Daniel admitted. Just give me a few more days. Please. You have until the end of this week, Tund said firmly. After that, I'm making the decision for you. I'm not letting Stephanie destroy what you've built. Daniel arrived at Amara's kiosk later than usual that morning, his mind racing with everything Tund had said. Amara noticed immediately. You're late, she teased. I was starting to think you'd abandoned me. Never, Daniel said, forcing a smile. Just had some things to handle. Everything okay? You look worried. I'm fine, he lied. Let me get started on those dishes. But throughout the day, Amara kept watching him with concern. Finally, during the afternoon lull, she confronted him. Daniel, talk to me. Something's wrong. I can see it. He wanted to tell her everything. The words were right there, pressing against his throat. But fear held them back. Amara, he said instead. Can I ask you something? Of course. If someone wasn't completely honest with you, but their intentions were good, could you forgive them? Amara frowned, studying his face. That depends. What kind of dishonesty are we talking about? Just, hypothetically. If someone cared about you but kept a secret because they were afraid of losing you, would that be unforgivable? Daniel, you're scaring me. What's going on? Nothing, he said quickly. I'm just thinking out loud. But Amara wasn't convinced. She took his hand, her touch gentle but firm. Listen to me. I don't know what's happening in your life right now, but I want you to know something. These past weeks, having you here, it's meant everything to me. You're not just help. You've become important to me. Daniel's heart soared and broke at the same time. You're important to me too. More than you know. Then whatever you're dealing with, we can face it together. Okay? He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. That night, as he lay in his small room, Daniel made a decision. He would tell Amara the truth. This weekend. He'd plan something special, somewhere private, and he'd lay everything out. He just hoped she'd understand. Across the city, in a luxury apartment in Victoria Island, Stephanie Williams scrolled through the photos on her laptop, a cruel smile playing on her lips. Daniel thought he was so clever, playing dress-up on the streets of Lagos. But she'd found him. And she had proof. The question was, when should she strike? She could expose him now, humiliate him publicly. But that felt too quick, too merciful. No, she'd wait. She'd watch. And when the moment was perfect, when he was most vulnerable, she'd destroy him. After all, Daniel Adeyemi had made the mistake of choosing someone else over her. And Stephanie never forgot a slight. Enjoy your little game while it lasts, she whispered to the photo of Daniel in his beggar disguise. Because it's about to end very badly for you. She picked up her phone and made a call. Hello? Yes, I have a story for you. About Daniel Adeyemi, the tech billionaire. Oh, you're going to love this. End of chapter 3. Good work. Now proceed to chapter 4. The Billionaire in Disguise, chapter 4. The Truth Threatened. Friday morning started like any other day at the kiosk, but there was a tension in the air that Daniel couldn't shake. He'd barely slept the night before, rehearsing what he would say to Amara. Tomorrow. He'd decided to tell her everything tomorrow. He just needed one more day to prepare himself for the possibility of losing her. Daniel, you're burning the plantain. Amara's voice snapped him back to reality. He quickly flipped the plantain slices, saving them just in time. She'd taught him to help with simple cooking tasks, and usually he was careful. But today his mind was elsewhere. Sorry, he muttered. Amara wiped her hands on her wrapper and came closer, pressing the back of her hand against his forehead. Are you sick? You've been acting strange all week. The simple gesture, her hand on his skin, the genuine concern in her eyes, almost broke him. He caught her wrist gently, holding her hand there for a moment longer than necessary. I'm fine, he said softly. I just have a lot on my mind. Want to talk about it? Soon, Daniel promised. Very soon. I need to tell you something important, but not here. Not like this. Amara's expression shifted to something between curiosity and concern. You're making me nervous, Daniel. Whatever it is, just tell me. Are you leaving? Did you find better work? No, nothing like that. I'm not leaving. He released her hand reluctantly. Tomorrow. Let me take you somewhere tomorrow, just the two of us. I'll explain everything then. Before Amara could respond, a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the kiosk, completely out of place in the modest neighborhood. The back window rolled down, and Daniel's blood ran cold. Stephanie. She was wearing designer sunglasses and a satisfied smirk that made Daniel's stomach turn. Their eyes met, and her smile widened. She didn't get out of the car, didn't say a word. She just looked at him, then at Amara, then back at him. The message was clear, I know exactly what you're doing. Then the car drove off. Who was that? Amara asked, staring after the Mercedes. Did you see that woman? She was looking at you like she knew you. Daniel's mind raced. I don't know. Maybe she was just curious about the kiosk. But Amara was too sharp. Daniel, that car cost more than this entire street. Women like that don't just drive through here out of curiosity. And the way she looked at you. Her eyes widened with sudden understanding. Do you owe someone money? Are you in trouble? No, it's not, Daniel stopped. What could he say that wasn't a lie? Tell me the truth, Amara demanded, her voice firm. Right now. Who was that woman and why was she looking at you like that? Daniel opened his mouth, the truth fighting to come out, but his phone buzzed urgently in his pocket. He pulled it out, it was Tund, calling repeatedly. 5 missed calls in the last 2 minutes. I need to take this, Daniel said. It's important. More important than explaining what's going on. Amara, please. Just give me 5 minutes. He walked a short distance away and answered the call. Tund, I can't talk right now. She's going to the press, Tund interrupted, his voice urgent. Today. Stephanie is taking her story to the Lagos Tribune. They're running it in tomorrow's edition. Daniel felt the ground shift under his feet. What? I just got word from a contact at the newspaper. She's selling them an exposé. Billionaire Daniel Adeyemi pretending to be a beggar, that's the headline. Pictures included. Daniel, you need to tell Amara right now, before she reads about it in the newspaper. I'm going to tell her tomorrow. I already planned. There is no tomorrow. Tund practically shouted. The story drops at midnight tonight. It'll be all over social media by morning. You have hours, not days. Daniel's world was collapsing. I need more time. You're out of time. Tell her now, or lose her forever. Your choice. The call ended. Daniel stood frozen, the phone still pressed to his ear. Behind him, he could hear Amara serving customers, her voice cheerful and professional. In a few hours, her entire world would be turned upside down. She'd discover that the man she'd been helping, the man she'd been growing close to, was actually a billionaire who'd been lying to her for weeks. And she'd find out from a newspaper headline, not from him. Daniel? He turned. Amara was standing there, her arms crossed, her expression a mixture of worry and frustration. What's happening? And don't tell me it's nothing. I can see it on your face. Amara, he stopped, the words catching in his throat. Before he could continue, a loud commotion erupted at the front of the kiosk. Two men in government uniforms were there, and they were putting up a notice on her structure. Wait, what are you doing? Amara rushed forward, Daniel right behind her. One of the men turned to her, his expression bureaucratically bored. Amara Okafor? This kiosk is being seized for operating without proper permits and health certifications. What? Amara's voice rose in panic. I have permits. I showed them last year. They expired 6 months ago, the man said, pulling out a document. You were supposed to renew. You didn't. We've had complaints from other business owners in the area. You have until end of business today to remove your belongings. After that, everything gets confiscated. No, Amara's voice cracked. Please, this is my livelihood. My family depends on this. I didn't know they expired, nobody told me. Ignorance isn't an excuse, madam. You have until 6 p.m. The men walked away, leaving Amara staring at the notice on her kiosk, her hands shaking. Daniel felt rage surge through him. This was wrong. Completely wrong. One phone call, just one call, and he could fix this. He could have lawyers here in 30 minutes. He could have these men fired. He could buy every permit Amara needed and have her kiosk not just reopened but completely renovated and legitimized. 1. Phone call. But making that call would expose everything. Amara, he started. She whirled on him, tears streaming down her face. This is it. I'm finished. Without this kiosk, I can't feed my siblings. I can't save for school. I can't. She sank onto the bench, her whole body shaking with sobs. Daniel knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to fix this, to use his power and wealth to make it right. How much are the permits? He asked. How much do you need? 200,000 naira, Amara said through her tears. For the permits, the health certification, the legal fees. I don't have that kind of money, Daniel. I have maybe 30,000 saved, and that's for my siblings' school fees next term. 200,000 naira. An amount Daniel spent on coffee in a week. An amount he could pull from his wallet without thinking twice. But Daniel the beggar didn't have that kind of money. Daniel the beggar couldn't even afford a full plate of rice 3 weeks ago. He was trapped. If he helped her with money, she'd ask questions he couldn't answer without revealing the truth. If he revealed the truth now, in the middle of her crisis, she'd think he'd been playing games with her suffering. And if he did nothing. I can help, he heard himself say. I know someone. Someone who might be able to loan you the money. It was a weak plan, but it was something. Amara looked up at him, hope and desperation warring in her eyes. Really? Who? A friend. From before. Let me make some calls. I'll figure this out, I promise. Daniel, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Amara, you fed me when I had nothing. You gave me work when I needed it. You've shown me more kindness than. He stopped, emotions threatening to overwhelm him. Let me help you. Please. She threw her arms around him, burying her face in his shoulder. Daniel held her, feeling her tears soak through his worn shirt, feeling the weight of his deception crushing down on him. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Over her shoulder, Daniel pulled out his phone and texted Tund, I need 200K in cash. Today. And we need to stop that newspaper story. Tun's response was immediate. The cash is easy. The story? They're already running it. Daniel, it's over. Tell her now. An hour later, Daniel sat in a small cafe down the street, his real phone pressed to his ear. He'd told Amara he needed to make some private calls to arrange the money. Tund, there has to be a way to stop this story. I've tried everything, Tund said, exhaustion clear in his voice. Stephanie must have paid them well. They're refusing to pull it. Daniel, in less than 12 hours, every newspaper, every blog, every social media platform in Lagos will have pictures of you dressed as a beggar. The story will go viral. If you don't tell Amara before then. I know. Daniel almost shouted, then lowered his voice, aware of the other cafe patrons. I know, Tund. But her kiosk just got shut down. She's devastated. I can't drop another bomb on her right now. So what's your plan? Solve the kiosk problem and then confess? Yes. I'm going to help her get the permits sorted today, then tonight I'll tell her everything. Before the story breaks. That's cutting it extremely close. I don't have a choice. Daniel rubbed his temples. Is the money ready? I have it. 200,000 in cash. But Daniel, when you give her this money, she's going to ask questions. A struggling man doesn't have access to that kind of cash on short notice. I'll tell her the truth before I give it to her, Daniel said. Tonight. I'll explain everything tonight. After the call, Daniel sat in the cafe for a long moment, his coffee growing cold in front of him. His whole elaborate plan, finding genuine love, proving that someone could care about him without his money, was unraveling. But as he thought about Amara crying over her kiosk, about her siblings who depended on her, about the unfairness of a system that crushed people like her while people like him lived in mansions, he realized something. This wasn't about his plan anymore. This was about doing the right thing. He'd started this disguise for selfish reasons, to protect his own heart. But somewhere along the way, it had become about something bigger. About Amara. About being the kind of man who deserved someone like her, wealthy or not. Daniel stood up and walked back to the kiosk. Amara was packing up her things, moving mechanically, her eyes red from crying. I have good news, he said softly. She looked up, a flicker of hope in her expression. My friend came through. I can get you the money. All of it. We can go apply for the permits first thing Monday morning. Daniel. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, but these were different. I don't know how to thank you. I'll pay back every naira, I swear. We'll talk about that later, Daniel interrupted gently. Right now, let's just get your things secured. And then tonight, you and I need to have that talk I mentioned. About what I need to tell you. Amara nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay. Tonight. As they worked together to pack up her kiosk, Daniel's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Against his better judgment, he opened it. It was from Stephanie. Just one sentence and a photo. Enjoy your last few hours of playing pretend. The photo was a screenshot of the newspaper's website, showing a preview of tomorrow's headline, Tech Billionaire's Secret Double Life Exposed. Daniel's hands trembled as he put the phone away. Tonight. He had until tonight to make this right. He just prayed it would be enough. The sun was setting over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, when Daniel finally convinced Amara to close the kiosk early. She'd spent the afternoon in a daze, alternating between packing her equipment and breaking down in tears. Come with me, Daniel said gently. There's a place we can talk privately. Amara looked exhausted, emotionally drained. Daniel, I don't know if I have the energy for. Please, he interrupted. This is important. I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me. Something in his voice must have conveyed the urgency, because she nodded slowly. Okay. Let me just lock up. Daniel had asked Tun to arrange for a private space, not too fancy, nothing that would raise suspicions before he could explain. His cousin had rented a small gazebo in a quiet park in Yaba, away from the noise and chaos of the main streets. They took a taxi there. Daniel insisted on paying, which made Amara protest, but he was firm. When they arrived at the park, the evening breeze was cool and gentle. Solar lights were beginning to flicker on along the pathways. "It's beautiful here," Amara said softly as they walked toward the gazebo. "I didn't even know this place existed." "Sometimes the best things are hidden in plain sight," Daniel said, the irony of his own words not lost on him. They sat down on the bench inside the gazebo. Amara was quiet, waiting. Daniel's heart was pounding so hard he was sure she could hear it. "Amara," he began, his voice rough with emotion. "Before I say what I need to say, I want you to know that everything I've felt, every moment we've shared, has been real. That part was never a lie." Her brow furrowed. "Daniel, you're scaring me. What's going on?" He took a deep breath. This was it. No turning back. "My name is Daniel Adeyemi," he said. "And I'm not who you think I am." "What do you mean?" With shaking hands, Daniel reached up and slowly removed the fake beard that had become like a second skin over the past weeks. Then he took off the worn cap, revealing his actual hairstyle, neatly cut, professional. Amara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "I'm not a struggling man looking for work," Daniel continued, his voice steady despite the trembling in his hands. "I'm the CEO of Next Tech Solutions. I'm a billionaire, Amara. And I've been lying to you since the day we met." For a long moment, Amara just stared at him, her expression frozen in shock. Then she laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "This is a joke, right? Some kind of prank?" She looked around as if expecting cameras to appear. "It's not a joke," Daniel said quietly. The laughter died on her lips. She looked at him, really looked at him, and Daniel saw the exact moment she recognized the truth in his eyes. Her face went pale. "No," she whispered. "No, this can't be, you're not." "I am," Daniel said. "And I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" Amara stood up abruptly, backing away from him. "You're sorry?" "Daniel, or whoever you really are, do you have any idea what you've done?" "I can explain." "Explain what?" Her voice was rising, tears streaming down her face. "That you've been playing dress up in my neighborhood? That you've been pretending to be poor while I fed you from my own struggling business? That I cried on your shoulder about not having enough money while you're a billionaire?" "It wasn't like that," Daniel pleaded, standing up. "I wasn't mocking you, I swear. I was trying to find someone who could see me, the real me, not my money." "The real you?" Amara's laugh was bitter. "I don't even know who the real you is. Everything you told me was a lie." "Not everything," Daniel insisted. "My feelings for you are real. That was never fake. How am I supposed to believe anything you say?" Amara wrapped her arms around herself, her whole body shaking. "You watched me struggle. You watched me worry about money, about my siblings, about my kiosk. And all this time, you could have helped with a snap of your fingers, but instead you what? Found it entertaining?" "No." Daniel moved toward her, but she stepped back. "Amara, please, it was never about entertainment. I was looking for something genuine. All my life, people have only wanted me for my money. I needed to know if someone could love me for who I am, not what I have. So you used me as some kind of test?" Amara's voice cracked. "I was your experiment? Your little project to make yourself feel better? That's not fair." "Fair?" Amara's eyes flashed with anger through her tears. "You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to let me believe you were struggling like me? Was it fair to take my food, my kindness, my trust, when you didn't need any of it? Was it fair to let me fall for someone who doesn't even exist?" Those last words hung in the air between them. "You fell for me?" Daniel asked softly. Amara's face crumpled. Of course I did, you idiot. I fell for the kind man who helped me wash dishes. The humble man who made me laugh. The gentle man who listened to my problems and made me feel less alone. She wiped her eyes angrily. But that man was a character you were playing, wasn't he? Just another role for the bored billionaire. It wasn't a role, Daniel said desperately. That is me. The real me. The money doesn't change. The money changes everything. Amara shouted. Don't you see that? Every conversation we had, every moment we shared, it's all tainted now. I told you things I wouldn't have told you if I knew who you really were. I let my guard down because I thought we were the same. But we're not the same. We were never the same. Daniel felt tears burning in his own eyes. Amara, please. And that woman today, Amara continued, her voice shaking. The one in the Mercedes. That was because of you, wasn't it? This whole thing is about to blow up in my face, and I didn't even know I was part of it. Daniel's silence was answer enough. Oh God, Amara breathed. How many people know about this? How many people have been watching me, laughing at the stupid girl who didn't recognize a billionaire in beggar's clothes? Nobody's laughing at you, Daniel said firmly. Only my cousin knows, and he would never. His phone buzzed. Then again. And again. Within seconds, it was ringing constantly. With a sinking feeling, Daniel pulled it out. His screen was flooded with notifications. Calls from business partners, text messages from friends, social media alerts. And then he saw it. The story had gone live early. Below the headline was a photo, crystal clear, of Daniel in his disguise, standing beside Amara's kiosk. And another photo of him in a designer suit at a recent tech conference. The story was everywhere. Twitter. Instagram. Facebook. News websites. Within minutes, it had gone viral. What is it? Amara asked, her voice small. Daniel's hand trembled as he showed her his phone. Amara read the headline, her face going from pale to ashen. No. No, no, no. She grabbed the phone and scrolled through the article. Daniel watched her expression change as she read, shock, horror, humiliation, rage. It says you were conducting a social experiment, she read aloud, her voice hollow. It says I'm a local food vendor who became the unwitting subject of the billionaire's investigation into authentic human connection. She looked up at him, devastated. I'm a subject? An investigation? That's Stephanie's spin on it, Daniel said quickly. That's not what this was. Who's Stephanie? My ex-girlfriend. She's the one who exposed this. She's trying to make it look worse than it is. Worse than it is? Amara's voice rose again. Daniel, my picture is in this article. My name. My kiosk. Do you understand what you've done to me? As if on cue, Amara's own phone started buzzing. She looked at it, her face crumpling further. It's my siblings, she whispered. And my friends. And, oh God, everyone is sending me this article. She answered one call. Chioma, I can't talk right now, she paused, listening. No, I didn't know. No, I'm not. I'm not his girlfriend. It's not like that. Her voice broke. I have to go. She hung up and more calls came in. Message after message. Amara's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. Make it stop, she pleaded, looking at Daniel with desperate eyes. Please, make it stop. I will, Daniel promised. I'll release a statement. I'll fix this. You can't fix this. Amara shouted. My face is all over the internet. People are already commenting, saying horrible things. They're calling me a gold digger, saying I must have known, that I was probably in on it for money. Her voice broke into sobs. Daniel tried to reach for her, but she pushed him away violently. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. Amara, please, let me explain to everyone what really happened. Let me tell them the truth. The truth? Amara laughed bitterly through her tears. What truth, Daniel? That you played dress up in my neighborhood? That you lied to me every single day? That you made a fool out of me? I never meant to hurt you, Daniel said, his own tears falling freely now. I swear, I never wanted any of this to happen. I was going to tell you tonight, before the story broke. That's why I brought you here. Well, you're too late, Amara said coldly. Just like you were too late to be honest with me from the beginning. She grabbed her bag and started walking away. Where are you going? Daniel called after her. Away from you, Amara said without turning around. I never want to see you again. Amara, wait. The money for your kiosk, I can still help. She spun around, her eyes blazing. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. You think money fixes this? You think throwing cash at me makes up for what you've done? That's not what I meant. I trusted you, Amara said, her voice breaking. I let you into my life. I shared my dreams with you. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could have something good. Someone who understood me. Someone who saw me. She wiped her eyes. But you were never seeing me, Daniel. You were too busy looking at yourself. That's not true, Daniel protested weakly. Isn't it? Amara challenged. This whole thing was about you. Finding love for you. Proving something to yourself. I was just a prop in your little self-discovery journey. No. Goodbye, Daniel. Her voice was final, emotionless. I hope you found what you were looking for. Because you just lost any chance with me. She turned and walked away, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Daniel stood frozen in the gazebo, watching her disappear into the darkening park. Every instinct screamed at him to run after her, to make her understand, to fix this somehow. But Tun's words echoed in his head, you can't control how she'll react. His phone continued to ring incessantly. Notifications flooded in. The story was spreading like wildfire across Nigerian social media. #Billionaire Beggaress was already trending. Daniel finally answered a call from Tund. I tried to stop it, Tund said immediately. I swear, Daniel, I tried everything. I know, Daniel said numbly. It's not your fault. How did she take it? Daniel looked at the path where Amara had disappeared. I lost her, Tund. I lost her. Maybe she just needs time. You should have seen her face, Daniel interrupted, his voice hollow. The way she looked at me. Like I was a stranger. Worse than a stranger. Like I was someone who had deliberately hurt her. What are you going to do? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders, wiping his eyes. I'm going to fix this, he said quietly. Not for me. For her. I'm going to make sure Amara doesn't suffer because of my mistakes. How? I don't know yet, Daniel admitted. But I'll figure it out. Even if she never forgives me, I owe her that much. After hanging up, Daniel sat alone in the gazebo as night fell completely over Lagos. The solar lights cast soft shadows, and somewhere in the distance, he could hear music and laughter from the city that never truly slept. He'd come to this park to confess his love to Amara. To ask her for a chance at something real. Instead, he destroyed the best thing that had happened to him in years. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from a number he didn't recognize. How does it feel to lose something real? You deserve this. S. Stephanie. For the first time since this whole ordeal began, Daniel felt real anger surge through him. Stephanie had done this. She'd released the story early specifically to cause maximum damage. To hurt him where it would hurt most. But she'd hurt Amara in the process. And that, Daniel couldn't forgive. He stood up, his jaw set with determination. If Stephanie wanted a war, she'd get one. But first, he had to find a way to protect Amara from the storm that was about to descend on both their lives. Even if she hated him forever, he would make this right. It was the least he could do for the woman who'd shown him what genuine kindness looked like. The woman he'd fallen in love with. The woman whose trust he'd shattered completely. The next 72 hours were the longest of Daniel's life. He didn't sleep. He barely ate. Instead, he worked with a fury he'd never experienced before, not to save his reputation, but to save Amara's. The first thing he did was hold a press conference. Every major media outlet in Lagos was there, cameras flashing as he walked to the podium. He looked different, no designer suit this time, just a simple shirt and trousers. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his voice was steady. "My name is Daniel Adeyemi," he began. "And I owe the people of Lagos, and one person in particular, an apology and an explanation." He told them everything. Not the sanitized version his PR team had suggested, but the raw truth. His loneliness despite his wealth. His desire to find genuine connection. His decision to disguise himself. "But here's what I need you all to understand," Daniel said, his voice growing stronger. "Amara Okafor is completely innocent in all of this. She had no idea who I was. She showed kindness to someone she thought was struggling because that's the kind of person she is. She's not a gold digger. She's not seeking attention. She's a hardworking woman who was trying to support her family and chase her dreams." He looked directly into the cameras. "The cruelty she's faced online over the past 3 days is unacceptable. The people mocking her, accusing her, tearing her down, you should be ashamed. Amara Okafor has more integrity in her little finger than most people have in their entire bodies. She deserves respect, not ridicule." After the press conference, Daniel got to work on the legal side. He filed lawsuits against every publication that had printed false information about Amara. He had his lawyers send cease and desist letters to the worst offenders spreading rumors online. Then he used his connections. He called in favors from everyone he knew. Within 2 days, Amara's kiosk wasn't just getting its permits back, it was being completely transformed. Daniel hired the best contractors in Lagos to renovate the structure, install proper equipment, get all the necessary health certifications, and ensure everything was legal and secure. But he did it all anonymously. The permits came through a government assistance program. The renovations were labeled as a community development initiative. Amara's name would be cleared without her feeling indebted to him. Because Daniel had finally learned the lesson he should have known from the beginning, real love wasn't about grand gestures to make yourself feel good. It was about doing what was right for the other person, even when they'd never know it was you. On the 4th day, Daniel's phone rang. It was the producer of Lagos Today, the city's most popular morning show. "Mr. Adeyemi, we'd like to do a follow-up segment. A chance for you to address the public again, maybe talk about lessons learned?" "No," Daniel said. "But I'll give you something better. An exclusive interview with Amara Okafor, if she agrees. Her story, her words, her truth. Know me, know my redemption arc. Just her." There was a pause. "You're serious?" "Completely." "Set it up. Tell her she has complete control over the narrative. And tell her." Daniel's voice caught. "Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I'll never bother her again, but I wanted to give her this chance to speak for herself." A week after the story broke, Amara stood outside her kiosk and couldn't believe her eyes. The rickety wooden structure she'd left behind was gone. In its place stood a proper small restaurant, nothing fancy, but clean, professional, with new equipment, fresh paint, and a proper sign that read, "Amara's Kitchen." An official-looking woman approached her with documents. "Miss Okafor? I'm from the Community Development Board. Your location has been selected for our Small Business Revitalization Program. All permits have been processed and paid for. The renovations are complete. You can reopen whenever you're ready." Amara stared at the papers, then at the woman, then at her transformed kiosk. "I don't understand. I didn't apply for any program. Someone nominated you. The nomination was anonymous, but it was very compelling. Congratulations, Miss Okafor. You deserve this. After the woman left, Amara stood alone in front of her new restaurant. She wasn't stupid. She knew exactly who had done this. Daniel. For a week, she'd been angry. Hurt. Betrayed. She'd ignored the dozens of messages he'd sent apologizing. She'd refused to watch his press conference, though her siblings had told her what he'd said. But now, looking at this restaurant, built not with his name attached, not for publicity, but simply because it needed to be done, she felt something shift inside her chest. Her phone rang. It was the producer from Lagos Today. After the call ended, Amara sat on one of the new chairs outside her restaurant and cried. Not from sadness this time, but from the overwhelming weight of a decision she had to make. 2 days later, Daniel was in his office when Tund burst in. Turn on the TV. Channel 7. Now. Daniel grabbed the remote and switched it on. There was Amara, sitting across from the morning show host, looking beautiful and dignified in a simple dress. So, Miss Okafor, the host was saying, you've been at the center of quite the storm. How are you feeling? Honestly? Amara said. I've been angry. Confused. Hurt. When I found out the truth about Daniel, I felt betrayed. Like everything we'd shared was a lie. Daniel's heart sank. This was it. The final rejection, broadcast to all of Lagos. But then Amara continued. But I've had time to think, she said quietly. And I've realized something. The Daniel I knew, the one who washed dishes beside me, who made me laugh, who listened to my dreams, that person was real. Maybe he was wearing a disguise, but the kindness he showed me, the way he made me feel seen and valued, that wasn't fake. The host leaned forward. Are you saying you forgive him? I'm saying. Amara paused, choosing her words carefully. I'm saying that what he did was wrong. Lying to me was wrong. But his intentions weren't cruel. He was looking for something genuine in a world that had only shown him fake love. I understand that now. She looked directly into the camera, and Daniel felt like she was looking right at him. Daniel, if you're watching this, I want you to know something. I'm still hurt. I'm still processing everything. But I also know that the connection we had was real. And maybe that's worth fighting for. Daniel was out of his office before Tund could say a word. He found her at the restaurant, sweeping the floor in preparation for her grand reopening. When she saw him standing in the doorway, the real him, no disguise, just Daniel in jeans and a t-shirt, she stopped. They stared at each other for a long moment. I saw the interview, Daniel said quietly. Amara, Let me talk first, she interrupted, setting down the broom. You hurt me, Daniel. Really hurt me. And I need you to understand that trust isn't something you can just buy back. I know. But I also need you to understand something else. She walked closer to him. These past weeks without you, I've realized that what we had was special. Rare. You saw me, the real me, when most people just see a woman selling food by the roadside. And I saw you, the real you, not the billionaire everyone else sees. I'm so sorry, Daniel said, his voice breaking. I would take it all back if I could. I wouldn't, Amara said, surprising him. Because if you hadn't done what you did, we never would have met. Not really. You would have been some rich CEO, and I would have been invisible to you. The disguise brought us together. It just took a while for us to find our way to the truth. Daniel felt hope bloom in his chest for the first time in days. Does that mean? It means I'm willing to start over, Amara said. No lies this time. No disguises. Just you and me, figuring this out together. If you're willing. Willing? Daniel closed the distance between them. Amara, I'm more than willing. I love you. The real you. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you. Amara's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were good tears. I love you too, Daniel. The you who washed my dishes. The you who made me laugh. The billionaire and the beggar and everything in between. They kissed then, right there in Amara's kitchen, and it felt like coming home. When they finally pulled apart, Amara was smiling through her tears. So what happens now? Daniel took her hands in his. Now, we take things slow. We build something real, based on truth. I support your dreams, not by throwing money at them, but by being your partner. And maybe, if you'll have me, someday we build a life together. I'd like that, Amara whispered. As the sun set over Lagos, casting golden light through the windows of Amara's kitchen, Daniel Adeyemi realized he'd finally found what he'd been searching for all along. Not someone who loved him despite his wealth. Not someone who loved him because of it. But someone who loved him for exactly who he was, flaws, mistakes, and all. True love, he'd learned, wasn't found in disguises or deception. It was found in honesty, forgiveness, and second chances. And standing there with Amara in his arms, Daniel knew he'd never take that for granted again. What an incredible journey. Did you love Daniel and Amara's story? Do you believe in second chances and true love? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to TJ Stories for more amazing African tales, and share this with someone who believes in the power of genuine connection. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next dramatic story. Thank you for watching, and remember, true love sees beyond appearances and straight into the heart. See you in the next story.